McCarthy back at the courthouse today. You're outside, you're inside. Andy, thanks for to get your observations. This is call for number 5 here. I'm going to play the role of the judge, and Dana's going to play the role of Bob Costello. Okay, here we go. Judge says, if you don't like my ruling, you don't say geez, okay? And then you don't say strike it, because I'm the only one that can strike testimony in the courtroom. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Okay, and then if you don't like my ruling, you don't give me my side eye and you don't roll your eyes. Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
I understand that. I understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you. Let's get the jury back. Are you staring me down right now?
No, I'm just wondering how...
Clear the courtroom, please. Clear the courtroom. Were you there for that?
I was in the overflow courtroom, so we could see it up on the monitors. It was something to see, but you know, in fairness to Costello, I just want to point this out. Early on, before any of that stuff happened, he was giving an answer. The judge tends to speak softly at times, and he sustained an objection, and Costello didn't hear him sustain the objection and continued to give the answer. And then the judge, in what I thought was a kind of a gratuitously chippy kind of way, said to Costello, when I say sustained, you stop answering. Now, you know, Bob Costello's been a very good lawyer and a top federal lawyer here for, 50 years. He understands that when the judge says sustain, you stop. But I think he kind of thought the judge was giving him the business a little bit, and that got his back up. And of course, the judge has to project that he's running the courtroom, so you can't let a witness act that way. So that got the judges back up, and the next thing you knew, these guys were going at each other.
Yeah, but Dana, when we were reading this by way of email yesterday afternoon, I wondered, do these guys know each other? And is it possible they do? Because they've been running the same legal circles for years, have they not, Andy?
Yeah, they have. See, there's a federal state thing here, too, which is kind of amusing in the way of rivalry. I was in the middle of it myself, so I kind of understand it. But Costello is a top federal lawyer here, and Merchan's a top state lawyer. He was a district attorney and then became a higher-ranking district attorney, I think in Long Island, and then became a judge. So I think there's a little of the federal-state rivalry thing going on. There's these two guys, and New York's a big place, but legal circles in Lower Manhattan are it's a small world.
Okay, so yesterday this was news to us, but apparently not necessarily news to the prosecution, but it was brought up. This is Trump's attorney saying to Michael Cohen, so you stole from the Trump organization, right? Cohen says yes. And you didn't just steal the $30,000, right? It was actually grossed up. It was $60,000, and Cohen says, yes, sir. So that was news to a lot of people yesterday. The jury first heard it. After a good night's sleep, hopefully you got a good night's sleep, you wake up today. How do you think this sits with them today, the jury?
It's got to be very bad, Dana. It's the kind of thing, it shouldn't have been surprising. It should not only not have been surprising to the prosecutors, they should have elicited it to draw the sting. It's always very bad when you have some piece of bad behavior that hasn't been revealed and it comes out on cross if you're the government's witness. And I think that was probably striking to the jury, although I have to say we're at a disadvantage, particularly in the overflow courtroom, because they do go the extra mile so that you can't see the jury. I always want to know how the jury seems to be reacting, and it's I don't want to project my bias onto them, but I'd love to get an eye at how they react to stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just being there one afternoon last week, and it was boring compared to what some folks are watching right now. I thought they were mostly and almost entirely engaged the entire time. Look at the monitors, checking out the state's exhibits, on and on and on. Yeah. Closing arguments, Andy. Here's what we're going to arrive at. Trump's lawyers are going to get up and say, you can't convict because you can't trust Cohen. Isn't this what all of last week has been about?
So Cohen is I almost regard Cohen as more of a problem for the prosecutors. Of course, they decided to bring the case and build it on him. I think the problem the defense has is twofold. One is the judge, who has let in a ridiculous amount of improper evidence with respect to the federal campaign finance violations. The fact that Cohen pled guilty to them, which is not admissible evidence against Trump, yet it's been emphasized to the jury to the point where I suspect the jury already thinks that part of the case has been proven when almost nothing's been proven with respect to Trump. So I think that's the judge in that regard is their big problem. And then the other problem the defense has, frankly, is if your best defense is that the non-disclosure agreements are legal, then don't treat them like kryptonite. For the whole trial, they on one side of their mouths they say NDAs are fine, they're legal, they're totally legitimate, and on the other side it's all Cohen. Trump has nothing to do with it. He knew nothing about it. And if you're the jury, I'd be sitting there like, huh? What, I just think you got to pick a story and stick with it, and it's getting late in the day for that.
And closing arguments will be the chance to do that, but they don't happen until next Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, so we're looking at 7 days from now.
Hey, you get along and get in that courtroom, Andy, and
Get along, little Andy.
we're watching your emails.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.